Look what you did, you little jerk.
What's going on, jerk faces? Welcome back to another episode of the Circle of Jerks podcast. We are coming back from summer break, and it's great to be here. We got Andy, as always.
What up?
Your lovely host, me. And a new guest who you haven't met before, but who is a very close friend of mine, Peter Lim. Say hello.
Hey.
Yeah, there's a few people in my life who do a lot that have influenced me in a lot of ways. You've met one of them, Daniel, who I've known for essentially my entire life. Peter's kind of another one of those friends. I've known him for a very long time. I think since 8th grade. It's a long time ago. And yeah, most of the things that I'm into today, obviously, like we talk about theology, Christianity, all that stuff on this podcast every once in a while. That's because of him. Some of the gaming stuff that I'm into, because of him. And many of the other things that the person that I am today is because of Peter. He's a great guy, kind of a malcontent, loudmouth, all the negative things you could say, but honestly,
don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, but despite all those things, I love him anyways, and he has a good heart, and he's a good man. So we're glad to have him on the podcast to talk about various topics, including gaming and what it means to us. And we've had a similar podcast about that before, but we're gonna dive into that a little bit today as well. So what's going on, Peter? How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah.
Glad to have you on. So Peter, actually, him and I, we both joined the Navy together about almost 20 years ago. Jesus.
Oh wow.
I think it's
2004.
10 years ago.
Joined after high school.
2004. We're almost in 2024.
Oh my god.
You know that, right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
It feels like 10 years ago.
You guys joined up after high school?
Yeah.
Mm.
He became a corpsman. I went a different direction than that, but we went to boot camp together. And yeah, we've kind of, for a majority of our life, we spent a lot of time together. Middle school, high school, after high school, we were in the Navy together. And actually, for a short time, we were stationed on the same base. So that was, we spent a lot of time together, and have a lot of adventures. But how would you describe your Navy experience? Because obviously you're done now with being in the Navy, right?
Yeah. I mean, there was positives and negatives to everything, just like the Navy experience. I mean, they helped me pay for the whole education up to now. I got a lot of good benefits, met some good people, obviously met some bad people. I mean, just how it is always.
Yep.
But I can say it was a worthwhile experience. I think if you don't know exactly what you want to do after high school, it's a good way to go. Mm-hmm. Good way to grow as a person, grow into an adult. I mean, I think you can go either way in the military. You can either flourish or, you can end up being not doing anything with it, right?
Right. That's why I always tell people when they're thinking about joining the military is don't join in as some infantryman or just some random seaman or whatever in the Navy or the military, because that eventually that doesn't do anything. Let them teach you a skill. Let them pay for it, because obviously you're being trained in a skill, and then utilize that skill. Either you can stay in the Navy, or if you don't, you'll have a skill coming out where you'll be ahead of the game, as opposed to other people who are just coming out of high school, where they're starting from scratch. And obviously you use that to your benefit, because you're in your nursing. You're doing nursing stuff for now.
Just finished my master's in nurse practitioner, so definitely got far in there using their benefits. And I help a lot of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Is that always something that you kind of wanted to do, or was that just did you?
I think it's a collaboration of things that you kind of want to accomplish versus what you want to do. I think you get out My mom's struggling with financial issues. It's hard to pay the bills. You have to think about what is best for your family and you. That's something you think about different when you're more grown up than when you're younger, and you realize, oh, I have to, like, if I have to support somebody, what do I gotta do, right? Like, I want to be originally a director or a writer or something like that, right? But I was like, can I make the money right away? I don't know. Like, I can't explore right now. I have to make the money, and I have to do something that can be stable because my family depends on it. So that's why I went that path. But also, like, something that that you still get rewarded, like, of helping other people. Then you feel like, okay, that's good. Like, I'm helping somebody.
You hear that, kids? Don't follow your dreams.
Follow your dreams, but smartly and do it early.
See, Peter said, don't follow your dreams. All right. Tech predictable and safe.
Unless your family's rich, then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean that's you've definitely like utilized the Navy for your benefit, and something I always like respect. Have a lot of respect for you too, is because your mom like definitely needed a lot of assistance in life with just how your life turned out, and you always, as annoyed and frustrated as that experience was for you, you did it, which there's not a lot of people that would have done that. So I've always like highly respected that of you, because I know you were. There's a lot of days where it's like I want to kill everybody around me.
No, I love everybody. What are you talking about?
Right? So what are you talking about? I got the love of Jesus in my heart. Jesus Christ, man. Oh no, but I'm sure we'll get into that story really soon. Yeah, I was actually surprised, coming in today, and then I recognizing Peter because again, because we grew up in the Valley, and we because we're Korean, so our circles definitely intersect from time to time, and I was really surprised that you were going to be the guest today, because he's like, oh, because Robert told me, he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have my friend Peter come in. I was like, okay, fine. I didn't know like you're Korean or whatever. I mean, I could safely assume that with Robert, I could safely assume, but I didn't. But yeah, it's really nice to find out that you were our guest.
It was nice to see you too.
I know, right? It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, at least like 15.
I still remember how you look and how you look now. Like visually, I still remember.
Do I look the same? Do I look different?
No, you got like more handsome. You got a beard, some fancy hairstyle now. Now wearing those baggy pants like everybody wore.
Well, he started.
Hey, it was a fashion back then, right? It was a fashion.
That was the 90s fashion.
It was the 90s fashion.
Super baggy pants.
Wait, did we go to church together too? Or was it just school?
Did you go to VK?
VKMC?
No, I didn't.
How about
I did visit.
Light of Love?
No.
VK?
No.
Youngnak? I went to Youngnak for a little bit.
Oh. No.
I've been all over, man.
Okay.
But mainly I went to VKUMC.
Okay. And Van Nuys, right?
Yeah, the one that...
the
one in...
Belbo and Devonshire.
Oh, the one across from Everyday.
Yeah.
Okay. I always get those two.
It was a Circuit City back then.
Right. No, but I always the facade, if you go, it's a very distinct looking facade.
They changed their facade.
They did.
But for a long time it was
right. But I always get facade. VKUMC and that other one confused.
I'm trying to think of which one.
Yeah, 'cause there's VKUMC and then there's, I think, VNK.
Is there Oh, like yeah. I know. Now I know what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
I always get those confused.
So I'll tell a little bit of the origin story of how we became friends, which to my best recollection, Peter might like have some different information, but I remember it was 8th grade, and we went to Nobel Middle School. Which is a middle school here in the Valley. No fences. Still no fences.
Well, yeah, it's like right on the corner of a major street, and so like you really don't need any fences.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can run away to Nobel to the
mall. Which a lot of people did.
Well, I did.
So it's crazy because it's like when you look at that, it's like it's almost like the African savannah. It was like there's like no place you could hide. So if you like walk off campus, it's just like they'll see you. And so
Yeah, exactly.
and it's like, so I don't know, like, I don't know what like the secret route was. Did you guys go cut through like the neighborhood?
I never skipped
spin
school.
around. You put get the little hoodie in. Korean, criminal looking. Put your head down and just disappear. And you're like, oh hey everyone.
I never
You
skipped.
guys make yourself look bigger so you didn't look like
I was always
puny
big.
little junior high kids.
He was always
I
big.
was 7 in high school.
Yeah.
I mean
Oh.
middle school, and I think it was 5'7" in middle school. So I was a big boy.
Yeah, it was.
That'll do it.
But yeah, so a bunch of us would like hang out in the like the quad area or whatever during like lunch and stuff. And it was another friend of ours that I had met first. He's a Chinese guy named Max, who I met. And through him, he's like, oh, hey, have you met my friend Peter? And it's like, oh, cool, what's up? And then we all kind of like, we were friends and we would talk a lot. And Peter's like, because I would always like buy like little like snacks and stuff. And Peter's like, can I have some? And so, but he kept asking me every day. So I ended up just like buying him like, so I would buy like
his
2.
own. Yeah, so like you buy a bag of Cheetos, you just buy him.
Yeah,
his
so
own.
I would buy double. So I would buy what I bought, and I would
Just
just
continued
give him half.
forever.
And so that's actually like, and
Son of a bitch.
I was like, it's like you sponge,
I know, you did call me that. That was my nickname. I was
Why
like,
is that your Nick Sponge?
but I was like, hey, well, whatever. It's sharing is caring.
I had those crappy little coupons for like free meals,
Oh yeah.
But then we like didn't qualify anymore. But my parents still didn't make me food, so I was like, I'm gonna eat. So
Yeah, so I was like, I made fun of him, but like, yeah, it didn't bother me. I was like,
you're poor.
no, but if I did,
I had no shame.
I could have said that.
Chips, you know what I'm saying?
But I didn't like just say like,
Yum,
oh,
yum.
I'm just not gonna get them for him. Like I was like, I understood. I was like, oh yeah, cool, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll take a sip of everyone's drink.
I know. Right?
So that's why I just started buying him his own, so he'd have his own. It's like,
Yeah, just leave me
so
alone.
it's like that way you have like your own that you can enjoy by yourself.
I was like, wow, this is fancy. This is what you get.
But we ended up.
It's like, this is all you got? Oh, God, you're cheap.
You got an extra sandwich in there?
Yeah. So we had, it was Max, Peter, Max asked like, hey, do you want to go watch a movie? And it turned out it was
You paid for his ticket. I'm just kidding.
I forget, somebody paid for his ticket. I don't remember who it was. It was probably me.
Okay.
I don't remember.
No, I think I paid for my
Did you pay
ticket,
for your?
yeah.
Okay, well, it doesn't
My
matter.
mom gave me money. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we went to watch easily the worst of Mission Impossible film, Mission Impossible 2.
Okay.
This is like the first like time I had gone to like kind of like the theater by myself with my friends, and so that was the one that we
It's a very
watched.
big rite of passage for a young man.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was at MIT. Which is definitely the worst of the Mission Impossible films. but
True.
But at the time, it was of its time, and we liked it.
Yeah.
And from that, that was right around like the summertime, like when we ended middle school, and you and I ended up becoming better friends than Max and I did. So we ended up, I think, hanging out pretty much all summer, and yeah, that was kind of like how our friendship really got started, and that was how I ended up.
So let me tell you a story on that.
Yeah, let's get your side of the story.
Yeah,
let's get your side.
He's like, hey guys, it was me and Max. He's like, hey, you guys want to come to my place? We're like, okay, sure. Don't get me wrong, it was the first time I went to a white person's house.
Oh yes, I do remember this.
Did it freak you out when you didn't have to take off your shoes?
They're like, no, not only that, they're just like, hey, you're Robert's a friend. Nice to meet you. Like his parents. And I was like, well, like, because Korean parents don't talk to you that way.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, hey, what's up?
Very friendly.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah,
Hey,
Korean parents
nice to
like,
meet you.
hi.
Yeah.
So who are you?
Yeah, bow down. Okay.
Yeah, take
bye.
off your shoes.
Yeah, take off your shoes. You want some food? You're hungry? And his parents were like, hey, nice to meet you. Like, talking to me like an adult. And I was
Right?
like, this is
Like
weird.
an equal. It's like, whoa.
Hey, where's the derogatory remark here?
I know, you're not going to tell me I'm a worthless piece of shit?
And they're like, oh, go play in his room. I was like, go play in his room? What? And then I'll go in his room. I was like, there's a TV? What the hell? I was like, whoa, this is fancy. And then he goes, hey, guys, I'm going to show you my room. Like, what room? My Hot Wheel room. And I'm like,
Oh yeah, my
Hot Wheel room?
So my dad and I we collect die-casts, like Hot Wheels, a lot of the NASCAR memorabilia, and so we we had a room that kind of stores those collectibles, and I think now we have probably close to 1,000 different die casts and
So
stuff.
I went in that room, whole walls rimmed, literally covered with Hot Wheel cars, and there's this huge table with Hot Wheel top. So I go in there, I'm like, whoa, this is more Hot Wheels car than I saw at Toys R Us, you know. So I was just amazed. So that's like the first impression I had when I met Robert, and I went to his place, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is different. But you know, it wasn't like bad, but you know, it was different for sure. So.
Yeah, because I think at that time we had the model train thing set up as well. So it was like an HO scale train set up with we had some of the trying to make it look more like a town that's livable and stuff. And then we had the all the diecast set up like kind of like around we measured everything else, so it was like everything was pretty evened out, and we had
like it fit so many like diecast.
Yeah, exactly. Since that time, that collection has grown probably about twice as much.
Wow.
I can't even imagine that because that's a lot already.
It was one of those things where not that we've fallen out of that hobby, but a lot of the because my dad and I at the time were heavily into NASCAR racing. I still am. My dad not quite so much. So we're.
Oh, your dad's not?
Huh. He's kind of like fallen out of it. I think because with when Dale Earnhardt ended up passing away, I think that was kind of what really ended my dad's. He was kind of like done with racing at that point. Me, I love it. I watch every race that's on. I can't get enough. But yeah, like that was kind of like the height of like that our collectible days on that. So you were kind of at the height, but we doubled the collection since then, but we've stored I think all of those away. So we'll probably end up like categorizing everything, and we might end up I don't really want to sell them all, but we'll see what we do with that. But yeah, I do remember that you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I was like a little kid in the candy store, just like looking around, like, whoa.
Right.
And for like,
is there even is still a market for diecast?
Well, the ones
I mean, not in terms of collectibles, but just in terms of demand, like for little kids.
Now, see, I don't think like the diecast market for kids, not so much anymore. I think a lot of the people who are into the diecast market now, because a lot of them are the ones that are made are heavily detailed. Like even like the 1/64 scale, which is the smallest one,
right?
Even those like have they have the the hood opens up, it's a very detailed motor. They have like the cockpit that like the stuff works in the cockpit. So it's very, very, very detailed. And then you get up into like the 1/24 scale, which is probably about like, I would say about this size. Those are even more detailed than that. And you're looking at anywhere for like the 1/64 scale cars are probably like $10 to $15 now. The 1/24 are probably anywhere between $50 and $100. I mean, because they're putting in a lot of detail now, so it's more catered to an adult market,
right?
More so than kids,
right? Because also like back in the day, like with like Hot Wheels or Matchbox, they actually had like production cars, like commercially available. Right. But nowadays, you don't really see that. You see kind of like the more exaggerated with
it's cartoonish.
Cartoonish.
And that's I think where I fell out too, because I liked oh cool, this is this is a 1996 Camaro that's the car I was looking for. And for me, like we would end up buying two because I wanted to leave one in the box,
right?
And then I would have one that I could play with, and that's usually what we would end up doing, because at the time they weren't that much. Like a Hot Wheels car was maybe like $1.50, $2, depending on like what you were getting. And the NASCAR stuff, that was maybe like $2 $2 to $3, depending on what you got. And so yeah, it wasn't like we were spending hand over fist on collectibles. But like nowadays, like you couldn't do that. Like you couldn't buy like, oh, I'm gonna have one that I play with and one that I put in the box. Like that's too much money.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other part of it too. Is like now it's more of the ones that we do buy are very select. Like I like this paint scheme that so and so ran. This is my driver. I'm gonna get his car. Whereas back then we bought everybody's car and we would display that and. Because back then too, like the paint schemes were, like when they brought out a new paint scheme, that was a big deal because it was very rare because everyone drove one paint scheme, but then there were special races where it's like, oh, we're gonna do a special paint scheme that day, and they would it would kind of.
It's another way to get more money.
Right. I mean, nowadays, like there's guys that run like 6 different paint schemes throughout the year. It's like I can't keep up with that.
Right.
So the market's changed definitely on the collectible stuff, but sorry, this is like a little bit of a like a sidetrack.
The Robert hour.
Hot wheel tangent.
Hot wheel tangent.
Shout out
so yeah.
So that was
let's get a little bit more about your perspective on Robert when you first met him.
Robert's always been a really nice guy. Easy to get along with. I think. He's like the guy you can be comfortable around always. Kind of like that's how he appeared. I came from I remember like when I started in middle school, I was super like rigid. Like overly serious. My parents were like, you need to get straight A's or like you're gonna be like living on the street, So I'm like super like rigid. I'm like, we're in this gifted magnet school, right? So I came over from another school, Lawrence.
Oh yeah,
sixth grade. Yeah, so I moved over there because I feel like the education wasn't really up to par. I didn't get along with people there because I'm kind of an asshole. So then I go there and I'm like, okay, well I'm just gonna be quiet, be quiet. So my friend Max, the one that you talked about, was the first one. Was like, hey, he's a very good people person too. He's like, hey, man, like, what's up? How you doing? And I was like.
Talking to me?
I was like, I don't talk to you, like I was some kind of robot or something, right? He's like, hey, and then so he says something funny, and I was like, you're funny, and then I cracked up, and I started becoming like loose again, like how my real personality is. Then he's like, oh, meet my other friends, and then I was like, oh, and then that's how I met Robert, and Robert came around, and I was like, oh. And I was like, wow, these guys have soda? These guys are rich. And my parents didn't give me money for that. And they were just like drinking soda, eating chips. I was like, oh, can I have some, guys? Like, I don't have any. Like, I'm never shy. So like, okay, that's cool. So he definitely gave me the most. And also he bought me my own. So I was like, wow, this is a really nice guy. Wow, this is a guy to be your friends with. You get your chips.
He's my best friend now.
Oh man, best friend in the world. And so that's how that started. And then he showed me his Hot Wheel car collection. I was like, whoa, okay. Yeah, I was like, this is very, very different, but but that was good, I like that. So obviously, as he talked about, we're both heavily into games, and that bonded us further because we're playing. And he's like, "What game is that?" I'm like, "This is called an RPG."
Well, and so I'll get to that because I grew up in the NES era, so like I was playing. That was the console I had for a long time. Even up until I think it was like 96 or 7, because so I went from the Nintendo Entertainment System that had a couple RPGs on there. Like Dragon Quest is the one I started with. That was like kind of got me down that road. And obviously I played like Zelda, but I play a lot of like platformers and stuff like that. Like Mario Brothers. If you want to view some of that stuff on Up by Up Down, we have some videos archived that you guys can watch of some of the Let's Plays that I did of that. So a little bit of a plug there. So that's kind of what I knew, and just before I met him, my parents bought me the first PlayStation, which came out, I think it was like 96, 97 is when I got mine. And I got it. I got it because of a game called Gran Turismo, which is that was the first really like realistic racing game. Because I at that time I was more into PC stuff, so I was doing a lot of like the NASCAR racing games and stuff, like Wolfenstein 3D. More of those type of games.
Right.
And so I got this for Gran Turismo, and when I met Peter, he had, I think you had a
Cross.
Yeah, but you had a one that was modded, so you could play like rip games and stuff on yours.
Oh no, I think I borrowed that from somebody.
You borrowed that from somebody?
That wasn't my original.
But yeah, he showed me like a bunch of these other games, like these. Chrono Cross was the first game I remember him showing me. I was like, what is this? This looks fantastic. And he's like, oh yeah, this is a game called like Chrono Cross, and I was like, this game looks amazing. So I remember I played that a little bit at his house. I ended up buying it for myself, which I'm actually replaying it at the moment. It's on my PS2 right now. And it kind of rekindled my love for RPG games, meeting him, because he showed me all these games that I had never like thought about or heard about. And it's like, this is awesome. It kind of it brought me back to the days of playing Dragon Warrior or Dragon Quest with my mom, which is kind of like one of the really early RPGs, and it kind of got me down that road. And when we had MMO on here, Devin, he was talking about how you kind of delve into the games and you're really diving in, like you are with the characters. You're kind of you're not just like someone on the outside just playing a game. You're in the game, and that, to me, that's kind of like what the RPG gaming is like. You're reading a book. You're in with the characters. You're there on that adventure with them, and it kind of brought. And that's how I felt when I played Dragon Quest, and these games kind of like through that I saw through Peter, it kind of brought me back to that time. And we played a lot of games together.
Peter, what were some of your favorite games?
So what got me into gaming the biggest is probably my friend was. I remember at church, some kid was playing Chrono Trigger on the SNES, and I had to plug it in the back, and we're at a hotel. I forgot what it's called. Start with the R. Ramada Inn?
Probably.
Yeah, one of those. And we're there, and then you know how back there you have to like plug in that weird sharp thing to play SNES.
Oh, the antenna.
Yeah, that weird antenna thing. So we did that, and we're playing, and I was like, "What is
Thank
this?"
God those are gone.
And then they're traveling through time, and a little, that's not going to be a, any spoiler, but yeah, this little wave thing happens, a little blue thing, and I was like, "Whoa, what's this?" So after that, I got like really obsessive, like because I used to read a lot of books. I was just a book nerd back then.
Right.
So I'll go back, and I was like up on the guide of that, and I was just like reading through each of the things, and I was like, "Oh, like you can do this, you can do that," and I was like, "Whoa!" I was like super like obsessive, right? Because I have a very obsessive personality. So then after that, when I finally got to find ways to play it on the computer, I started playing like really hardcore. And then that's when Chrono Cross came out, and I was like, whoa, it's a sequel. And I got that game, and that's where me and Robert met up, and I was like, oh yeah, you have to play this game, man. This is like the sequel to the best game ever. So that's like one of my favorite games. Obviously Final Fantasy series is like a big impact. I got older, I started playing more out of RPGs. Play everything from shooters to platformers to children games and just everything in between now. But I think back then I was really focused on the RPGs, and I had a friend that was super elite in that gaming.
Oh God,
he literally did every one of them. My friend Joe, and he was really obsessive and really crazy about it. So I felt like if he beat a game, I had to try to beat a game, but he was a little too crazy, and he beat too many of them that I couldn't catch up. But I played a lot of them. I'd say I beat a lot of them. So yeah. But that's like that started that drive. I think I'm a little competitive, and even if it's just gaming, I don't know why. Like someone's like, oh, I'd be a little more, even with these trophies for PlayStation, right? Like I have a friend that's a little higher. I'm like, oh, I'll have to try to catch up. He's playing crazy style. So.
I'm about like 10 levels behind you guys.
I know. We were just talking about that recently. Yesterday I was looking, and I was like, who's closest to me? Oh, it's Robert. It's like, he's catching up, right? I'm like, no, he's not. I mean, because like in the higher levels, one level takes forever, right? And my friend's two levels higher, and he's probably the highest trophy, my friend Franklin. And so I was like, well, like he's like, just to get one level, it takes me forever. Like I would have to game for like 2-3 months, like hardcore. Do a lot of trophy hunting or whatever. So yeah, so those are the games that I generally prefer.
Yeah, because I was, in preparation for the episode, I was kind of thinking of like what were like my like favorite games, that I've played through, and it's kind of hard because you have to think about like, genre, plays a part in that too, like, because there's certain platformers that I really like to play. Super Mario 3 is probably one of my favorite platforming games. I know it's probably up there on a lot of people's list. I still play that game a lot even today. We did on the gaming show that we do. I did the run through of the Famicom version, which is a little bit harder than the one that we got. But I really love that game. But yeah, RPGs, the reason I like those a lot is because, at least back when we were doing them, because we were both into reading a lot too.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was an interactive book. So you were playing through a book that you were reading, because there's a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of stuff to do, a lot of places to explore, and you're essentially reading the book and seeing the world that the book is, kind of encapsulated in. Like one of the games that he mentioned was, Chrono Trigger, which a lot of people there's people that argue that it's probably one of the greatest games of all time, if not the greatest of all time. Definitely, it's arguably the best RPG of all time. And it's just, it's the graphics are fairly simple, but in that simplicity, it's just such a beautiful looking game. You have aspects of time travel, kind of, a lot of different character stories, and there's actually several in that game. It was one of the first one where there's several different endings that you can like find, and which is, so you get like different aspects of the story. And same thing with its sequel, Chrono Cross, which deals more with dimensional travel. But you have, even more so, you have all these different endings, and I think like at least 4 or 5 times the amount of characters, so you get a whole bunch of different like perspectives of the story, and it's so I've always loved that about RPGs. I think you would probably agree with that, right, Peter?
Yeah, I think the book aspect, being part of the character, also the value. Like you can play 100 hours, 200 hours on an RPG. Really, you can grind, you do all the side quests. I think there's also that element of that you have to put work in. It's not like a other game where it's just skill based, and of course you have to be skilled and whatnot, but you can't just be skilled in an RPG. Like you can know what to do exactly, but it'll require time and commitment. And I think I like that part, because now you're invested in this game. You have to be invested in this character. If not, you're just gonna stop playing. So I think it requires that. It's just like a book, like you can't just read a little bit and not be invested in a character. You're gonna be like, why am I reading this book?
Yeah, exactly.
And when you really wrap yourself into the story and the character, you definitely feel a connection with that, and then that makes you feel like it's a bigger experience than just watching a movie or reading a book. Now you're like really wrapped on this, and the day to day, right? In a book, you read and continue your story. You can literally stay the exact same place in a video game and just do the same thing and do whatever you want to do over and over, and that's fine. It's like your choice, And that aspect I really like too.
Yeah, and especially if like you're trying to complete a game too. There's a lot of, like I said, those side quests. So you have the main story, but then there's all these other like little things that you can do. It's like just to kind of like where it's a little bit more difficult than just playing through the main story. And there's all these like, oh wow, there's this like these optional bosses that I can fight, or these certain items that I can get, or whatever. I'm actually currently replaying a game from 20 years ago, Final Fantasy VIII, and
classic.
Yeah, I think it's slowly becoming my favorite Final Fantasy. Maybe it's because
Peter had this incredulous look on his face.
Maybe it's because it's the most recent one I played. 6 is definitely my favorite beforehand, but I think 8. I really like the story of 8.
It's like, who is this guy?
Why did you like the story? Why do you like about the story of 8?
I like I thought the character development was really good. I like, it's in a very different setting than a lot of the other Final Fantasy games. It's kind of more of a futuristic type setting, yet It also retains it does retain elements from the old guard of Final Fantasy, which is more of the fantasy, like all that stuff. But it's kind of transitioning into a new era of Final Fantasy, which is they've kind of gone in a different direction. And this is the game that really, 7 kind of started it, and then it kind of 8 really took off in a different direction.
So, would you like better, Squall or Laguna?
So there, the main character.
Yeah, I'm not a video game.
So I'm gonna.
I know them tangentially. But not,
so the main character.
Two sort of main characters.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
In Final Fantasy VIII, you have the main character, which is Squall Leonhardt. That was his last name, yeah. And he's a student at this school which trains kind of these. It's like a military school essentially, and it's the military. They train these elite guards called Seed, or CD, if you will. We don't really have, we don't know, so you had to make it up. It's the way it's shown. It's shown Seed, CD, doesn't matter. And the story goes that you're fighting this sorceress who's trying to take over the world.
Okay, so it's like West Point mixed with Hogwarts.
Yeah, kind of in a sense. Yeah, exactly.
Little fantasy in there.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
And as you go along through the story, you meet these other characters, and it turns out that they use this power called Guardian Forces, which are the Final Fantasy, which are summons. They summon these monsters that are able to help them through battles, give them like power and stuff. But the problem of using those Guardian Forces is that it also causes them to lose their memories. And it turns out that all these characters that you're using have all grown up together. They were all like orphan. They grew up in this orphanage.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's a 20-year-old game, for God's sakes.
I think it meets the minimum requirement for spoiler warning.
But they released it.
Right, and the all the characters are connected, and at the same time there's also another character who has the power to take people back to the past and relive memories from some other people that they're that this other character is connected with. And so you live through another character named Laguna and like his crew of Kyros and Ward. And it's from a time in the past when the same sorceress was kind of trying to dominate the world. And in a futile way she was trying to change the past, but it was a way to like bring all these characters together and kind of bring the past and the present together, so that they were able to have more information to better come against this sorceress. And I don't know, I just find the story very interesting. It turns out that because Laguna is essentially Squall's father, isn't he? That's what I think he is. That's what it ends up turning out, that he and through a series of circumstances, that's why Squall ended up becoming an orphan, because Laguna didn't know that he was his dad, and was trying to save the girl with the power to send people back into the past. And so it's kind of it's an interesting story. It's a very different take on the Final Fantasy series, because none of the games essentially are connected. They're all their own separate universe unless otherwise noted. And I just think it's a fascinating story, and I'm actually replaying it through again. But going back to like all the side quests and stuff, there's so much to do. Like there's they have this like really cool card game in there called Triple Triad. There's all these optional bosses and Guardian Forces to collect. You have to collect like the final weapons, which takes a little bit of time. It's I'm just collecting stuff. Like, no, it actually helps you in the game. Like there's, the cards, you're able to get like better items that'll help you in the final boss. The Guardian Forces give you extra powers. So it's not just like a waste of time. It's hard, but it's like, for good reason.
You definitely have to be committed in that game.
God damn it! So I will say the one frustrating aspect about the game that most people like, why some people really hate the game, is there's a getting like magic. You have to what's called the draw system. You have to draw magic from enemies and like these draw points throughout the world, and that can be a little tedious. But honestly, like it now that because this is probably like the third or fourth time I've played through the game. It's actually really not that tedious now. As an adult, as a kid, I hated it. It's like, but now that I'm playing it as an adult, like I actually really like the game a lot.
Just make sure you don't level up too quick.
It's
wait till later to level up.
Yeah, it's getting the magic is more, and the junctioning that magic to your skill sets. That's the important part of that game. But I mean, obviously that's more of like a technical thing. But like, I think the stories of these games are what's I think really fascinating. And games are getting more and more fascinating with the stories that they tell. And now it's like more like interactive movies than like interactive books. So that's why I kind of like to go back to the older RPGs, because there's no dialogue to the it's like you have to kind of create voices for the characters and whatnot. Do you going back to like you, Peter, as far as games that you like remember really liking as a kid, because obviously you play everything just like I do. Are there games that like you're like, oh man, this is where you could go back to a game and like I really like this game a lot?
One game also that's not Chrono Trigger that I can go back multiple times, probably Contra.
Oh yeah,
that's actually my favorite platformer.
That's your favorite platform? Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah, because you had to like literally learn how, especially that little flamethrower level when you have to duck and go down and jump up. And
have you ever played that? Have you done that as a co-op, or did you always do it as single player?
I did both.
You did both, yeah. Because I think the co-op is a hell of a lot harder than single player on that, especially with that level.
That teaches you definitely teamwork, because you're like, hey dude, like get up here, and then the guy goes down and he dies. You're like, damn it, and he's like, can I use your life? And you're like, dang.
Yeah, you can't fuck around in Contra. Like that's serious business.
Well, that Teenage Ninja Turtle platformer is good too. The Turtles in Time.
Turtles in Time. Yeah, that's
arcade.
That's a good beat 'em up.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was definitely a big game. I mean, there's a lot of different games that that hit moments, right? Like DDR, right?
Oh yeah.
Super into that. I remember that.
Fuck that game.
Little DDR, little Beatmania, or one of those kind of games. And then you got right now, I've been like my friend that plays a lot now. He plays Pokemon Go a lot, right?
Yeah.
And he lost 10 pounds from walking around with it. So I was like, all right, I gotta lose some weight. Let's go play some Pokemon Go. And then now he's obsessive. My fiance
move over, Subway diet, the Pokemon Go diet.
And we go in these little late in the night. We go into these little dark areas, and they're like, we're doing a raid, and you're like, what? And there's always like older people in their cars, all like, on their phones. I'm like, whoa, this is intense, So I thought it was for little kids. I realized nope, because kids can't drive,
right? And
so these guys actually drive around and play.
It's like,
they get like an Uber and just like ride around.
No, they literally drive.
Yeah.
Oh, they themselves.
Yeah. And they have one guy has like an iPad, and this guy had 5 devices, and he has 5 accounts, and he's catching it. Like,
dang!
Like with each finger.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I remember when that like first got started. It was crazy, like where there was these random places where it's like, where the fuck are there so many people here? It's like, oh, it's Pokemon Go. I got it.
Yeah. Well, the greatest story of Pokemon Go I have is the first year I was playing this. Right. We went to Santa Monica Pier, and they didn't have many Pokemons at the time. Only like the original Pokemon 150, whatever it is. And they were like, there's a Dragonite here. So if you want to get a Dragonite, you have to come to Santa Monica Pier. So we go 3 in the morning or walk around the pier, and there are literally 300, 400 people walking around.
Wow.
And I'm looking around, and of course you hear one random guy, Squirtle! And everyone's like, oh my god! And they're running like it's so serious, right? I'm in the back. Like, I'm just hungry, dude. And I'm just like, I guess I'll walk gingerly there. And I'm like, oh, there it is,
Yeah.
Then, okay, 5 in the morning now, right? Like we're all tired. We're like, dude, this is like, I don't think the Dragonite's gonna come. Someone screams, Dragonite! Right? We're like, oh my god. We look, and they're all literally in the ocean. Like you know how you have to walk to the side into the sand, and literally in the ocean. So I'm like, but there's like a huge amount of people rushing. So I'm like, dude, I'm gonna take my time. Hopefully it's still there. If it's not there, it's not in the world. Whatever. But these guys were super serious, right? There's one guy with like LED strips all over his body, with on his bike, and then like literally, I was like, "Whoa, these guys are."
He's committed. He's committed.
Oh, he's committed. He's
I give
Pokemon.
I give a lot of like credit to those guys. Those guys are like dedicated, hardcore like gamers.
Man, I remember like all the stories about people like getting hurt and stuff, and like like literally getting trampled on because like creating stampedes. Especially trying to capture the Dragon Knight. There was a video. There was that clip of that guy. He was like trying to like doing like one of the like back in the days like they were called social experiments. So he was just out like in the middle of the road and just shouted out Dragonite, and then all these people like swarmed where he was, and like there was like cars and stuff. And, like cars like slammed, and like people just like came, like ran, they didn't care, and it's like what? And there's no Dragonite here. What the hell, man?
So if you find a Dragonite, doesn't mean you're guaranteed catch it either.
Right, exactly.
So mine, I literally used up all my Pokeballs. I was in my last Pokeball, and I was like, oh, this is the last one, and I tossed it, and then I did get it. And I was like, I was like, oh my god! And then my friend next to me, the one that drove to get us the Dragonite, did not get it. But all of the other people besides him got it. So
and I assume you rubbed it in his face, right?
Of course. We went to go eat pho later, and I was eating pho, and I was like, Dragonite. How does this taste like? No Dragonite.
So are you? Just a quick question. Are you not particular about like games, like or like you're not a platform snob, are you?
Well, I lean more towards PlayStation just because of the fact that I like the trophies. Most of my buddies are from there. My whole like train of the Japanese RPG era, the PS1, and like Metal Gear Solid and those kind of like big first party games are always been PlayStation. So I think I'm not a snob in that I don't play them. I literally have every game, and I like what it does for it. But like when it comes to like a third party game that can go either PlayStation or Xbox, I definitely will go for more PlayStation. Back then I did become like a little PC snob, and I had like a nicer PC. And then I realized, like no one really plays with you, and so I felt a little like the graphics are good, but like I don't know. I think it's just more simple to just use the console, right? You just load the disc and you just play it, and then it already has all this connection set up, and the friend system is a lot better, right? Because you got your friend list, you can go into a chat party, you can do games like Destiny was really huge for this. I have a friend that was really into it, and would just play that crazy amount of hours, but. Yeah, like that's probably the most like group game that I've played. It's probably like Destiny and stuff because it's just made on that basis of like a shooter MMO, But that was pretty good. But yeah, I think I'm not a snob, but I definitely focus on more of the PlayStation. But like Nintendo games are only on Nintendo, so you kind of have to play Nintendo, right? And then try to figure out what is the best game iteration, right? Because now all these remakes,
Right.
So when I'm looking at like even Metroid, like I'm gonna get this Metroid version because it's a better version but better graphics or something.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too because I I like old games, I like new games. I play whatever if it's, and I tend to like Sony because they have a lot more exclusive content. Which obviously, like if you're gonna buy a console, you want to buy a console that has a lot of games to choose from. And sure, and I have an Xbox One and an Xbox 360, and I have games for that are exclusives. But it's not quite as much as Sony. Nintendo, like their whole thing is essentially exclusive games. So I have that, although I don't have a Switch. And then I have like a lot of
a gamer.
Yeah, and then I have I know,
and you don't have a 3DS,
and I don't have a 3DS.
Whoever wants to donate too.
Yeah, please, I will, and trust me, there will be a lot of thankfulness and potential streaming for that. But the like on my like laptop, I have a lot of like the old like NES, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance games that I play through that. And so, like I said, I play everything, you know. And now that I'm older, there's like, I didn't know this fucking game existed back when I was, you know, 10 or 11.
Right.
You know, that I would have loved to have, but like you never found out about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like a number of years ago, I played through you know, this Zelda game on Game Boy, Link's Awakening. Which, you know, I was like, I've never played this game. This game is awesome. I would have loved to have owned this as a kid, but I didn't have it. And now, obviously, it's for whatever reason, it's all of a sudden become super popular again. And now they remade it on the Switch. Dragon Quest is, you know, another game that like not a lot of people knew about until like a few years ago. And now, like, you know, they have the they've come out with like a few newer ones, like on PlayStation. Like there was Dragon Quest 7, 8, and then like 9 came out on like Nintendo DS, I think. 10 is a MMO that's only in Japan, unfortunately. And then 11 came out, which is, I think that's one of the best RPGs I've ever played in a long time. Like as far as like modern stuff, it's one of the best ones I've ever played.
So talking about remakes, 7 and 8
got remade too.
Got remade to 3DS, so you can play it on there. But it's actually, they don't look, because if you play the PlayStation 1 version, the heads are really big, the body's really tiny. But now they look more proportional. In the 3DS,
okay. And they also on the Switch, they I guess they essentially brought the mobile version
1, 2, and 3.
The first 3 translated to the Switch, but like the mobile version is actually kind of the worst version of the game.
Probably.
So I'm kind of like, oh, that's
Secret of Mana 1 and 2. The collection edition, Second Detsu 2 and 3.
Yeah,
it's on Switch also.
So yeah, that's the other thing. You know, we talk about like, you know, when we talk about movies, you know, all the remakes and all this stuff like that. You know, it's happening in the gaming market too.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I hate the remakes when it comes to films a lot of times because they usually, you know, make it shittier. Sometimes when it comes to the you know, and the gaming side of it, it is bringing a you know, an audience to these old games that are great games, and it's bringing them to a new generation, which I kind of like. And in the cases of like, there's been a few games where they've actually remade the games from like the bottom up. Like it's not a remaster, like they're redoing the game in like a new style. Like Resident Evil 2, they just came out, and that's like, it's a brand new game essentially. It's done in all new graphics. It's still like the same story,
right?
But there's the other things that they do, and
the horse one, the kid with the horse.
Yeah,
what's that one called?
With the horse,
not Eco, the other one.
Ico.
After.
It was Shadows of the Colossus.
There you go. Yeah, that was remade all the way up.
Yeah, and most famously, probably as far as like RPGs go, is they're redoing Final Fantasy VII, which is arguably the greatest of the Final Fantasies in a lot of people's minds, and they're redoing it from the ground up. And it took them a long time. But god damn, it looks really good. It's coming out next year. The first part of it's coming out next year. I'm excited for it.
They're also remaking Second Detsu 3, which never came in the States. They're remaking that into remaking it all the way up.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, it's 3D graphics. I'm not sure how it looks. It doesn't look like the Final Fantasy VII like remake. Like that looks extraordinary, but it looks pretty interesting. So if you're ever a Secret of Mana fan, there you go.
So, and it also, like, in a lot of ways, you know, for some of the rarer games, because you know, in the gaming market, finding some of these older games like on their original console is a bitch, and they're sometimes really expensive. So I'm kind of in favor of sometimes finding like a digital version or a remake of the game, because then it's like a new generation gets to enjoy the games, or if you missed it the first time around, now I get to play the game again. Right. And there's been a few games like that. It's like, finally I can play this game, you know, like and or like, you know, some of them, you know, with the trophies that he's talking about, it is kind of a fun thing to, you know, compete with your friends. Like, oh, did you get all the trophies for that game? Oh, you didn't? You suck.
Did you see the new Xenoblade remaster coming to Switch?
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah,
I just saw that.
Yeah, and then there's also like a lot of these like Japan exclusive games that are finally like coming out to the States. You know, we don't have to play some, you know, translated emulator for them, and That's also something like one of the famous ones is Mother 3, I think, is going to be coming out at some point, which is if people know the Earthbound series, which was on Super Nintendo. There was a one on NES called, it was like Earthbound Zero or
Earthbound.
It was like the first Mother. The one that we got in the States, which we know as Earthbound, that's Mother 2. And then there was another one on, I think, GBA, which is called Mother 3, which I think they're going to be coming out with a translated remastered version on the Switch at some point.
That's interesting.
I had heard that they're talking about that. But who knows? And that's the exciting thing with gaming. Like, there's always like new stuff coming out, but there's also kind of same thing with like the films, but in a better way, kind of like these remasters and reboots of certain games and series. But I tend to like to go back to the original. We did like our playthrough of Metroid. Now that game is fucking frustrating because there's no goddamn map.
I remember filming those things, and you were
God damn it! So
you were like going off on profanity-laced tirades, like "God damn it, this motherfucking shit."
It's like, so why can't I have a fucking map? It's like
I play Metroid Zero.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you play. Then that's where you play like Metroid Zero Mission on Game Boy Advance, and you have a map,
better graphics.
But the thing is, I finally beat that fucking game on NES, and I can say I actually had to I had to beat that game twice because we fucked up. So like some of the film got fucked up on there, so I had to rebeat the game again. I was like, God damn it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Well, there's that, right? The feeling of accomplishment is one part of gaming, right? And then the joy of playing it, right?
But I've actually I've gone back and played some of these old games that have been a bitch to play, like when I was younger.
A lot easier when you're older, yeah.
But now that I finally beat Zelda 2 after a long time. That game is still a pain in the ass, like goddamn Death Mountain. I beat Metroid, like, because I never owned that as a kid, so it's like that was the game I wanted to play. I finally beat the original Mega Man, which always gave me trouble. Mega Man 2, I beat that, and just like seeing like what like some of the games like I've missed as a kid, like some of the RPGs, some of the platformers. That's like I didn't know this game even existed. And I think now with like the iteration of like YouTube and stuff and people talking about these games, like, back when we were kids, the internet was like, I mean, it was there, but it wasn't really it
wasn't accessible. All we had was like, it was slow.
We were still using like stuff like magazines and reading
Nintendo
up about
Power
games like,
or
ooh,
Wizard.
what's going to come up next?
We're probably looking at other stuff than video games. That's
Well, I wasn't going to talk about that here. It's like, but I think that's that's always like been one thing of like our friendship. And gaming has been a central part of our friendship. And even if we're not playing the same game, we're together, we're playing games, we're talking about games, and
that is true.
That's what kind of keeps us together. And even now, like there's so many different games coming out where it's like we can't even keep up with the games that are available, and it's like there's all these new games coming out. It's like, fuck, I haven't beaten this one yet, and the pile of games that like we need to beat on our list is just growing and growing. And we'll probably never beat all those games, but
nope, not probably never. We'll probably die before we play. We're like, no,
but hey,
or maybe we'll just be retired and we'll just play games, eat some tacos and just play some games till we die. Oh wow,
that's a dream.
It feels like I've never played this game before.
Living the dream. I know it's like I think you're just going senile. It's like no.
I never played this. You did. You talk about this in the podcast right here.
Yeah.
Oops.
But yeah, like nowadays there's all sorts of like there's a lot of games that are crossovers. Like you have they're RPGs, but they're also like action games, platformers. Like Destiny's kind of that way.
I'm playing Dragon Age Inquisition right now,
right?
And that is like that too. It's good, third person.
Yeah, and then like you get like there's a difference between like JRPGs, which are Japanese role-playing games, and like Western RPGs. So you have like your Final Fantasies, which are JRPGs, and then like games like Skyrim or like Greedfall or something like that are more the Western style RPGs, where like you're it's not like a turn-based attack where it's like, oh, this person attacked, oh, this happened to you, now you have a chance to make a move on them. Where it's like more the Western style is like your action is always happening. But I think there's been like a lot more of a merger between the two in recent years.
I think people they're not as patient as they were, just like with movies. So movies are a lot fast paced now. I think RPGs are the same. You know, like you're talking about, let's say Final Fantasy 15, right? Everything is like action based now. You're not like planning out as much. You're just going in there and you have a set idea what to do, and afterwards and during the path you got certain things you can do, but basically it's not as like step by step, like I'm gonna move here, do this attack, hit this magic, and do this, do that.
Right.
It's not like as much as a chess game where it used to be, where I feel like you know, you're now it's more like a checkers game. I guess you are like you're kind of hopping around really quick, you know.
That's a good analogy.
You don't have to think as much because you know the rules are kind of already preset.
Right.
A little easier to move.
Right, like limited movement, so you know, like everything's like predetermined.
It's just like do. I already know. But like in the other one, you had to be like, this only does this L shape, and this one moves diagonally. Like it's like literally like the characters were very specialized in terms of that, which I think is a pro and con. Obviously,
right.
It loses that factor of feeling like a tactician as much. Now you're more like, let me go in there and see what happens. And sometimes you can just win because, you know.
It's like, oh, you got lucky that time. Yeah.
Right.
And, so I feel like that part, it's not good, but it's also good in terms of that it's more accessible to everybody.
I think also too, like I've noticed there's been a lot more like very realistic like simulator type of games that have come out. And obviously, you know, some of them I'm interested in. Like I've there's a game, one game that I bought, you know, a number of months ago called Elite Dangerous, which is kind of like this weird, like space exploration type of like simulator. I mean, it's not like realistic because, you know, we're not really doing that type of space travel, but the controls are very like fine tuned and like it's a strong learning curve. It's a bitch to learn. I'm still like trying to get through the tutorials of the game because it's really hard. And then even like one that I really want to like, I need to upgrade my PC to play. So because I kind of want to do like some streams for the channel with doing this is the for me, because I love racing games as well. And it's the iRacing stuff, and for me, like as a racing fan, like seeing that like I can do any type of motorsports that I want. Like I can race Indy cars, F1 cars, stock cars, you know, dirt racing cars, all at all different tracks that are around the country, and I can compete with people around the nation and like, you know, move up in ranks and stuff like that. And it's very hyper realistic, and the fact, and even a lot of professional drivers are in this community, and they race all the time in there. So it's kind of like that to me is pretty exciting. I've been watching a ton of videos on that, and you know, that's also one of those, like, these simulators are kind of more of these immersive experiences that you can get into, and I don't know. Gaming it's different than it was, you know, back when we started like gaming. But it's also like it's kind of exciting. Like all the new stuff that's coming out is very exciting. Yeah. Yet at the same time, like, you know, I'm old enough where it's like, man, like, you know, going back to some of the old games that I know and love, it's like, you know, it's like kind of putting on an old shoe that just is very comfortable.
Or watching a really good movie versus like, you know, that has that some kind of extra like something about it that's different. Whereas like the new ones might be more entertaining off the bat, but you're like, I'm not gonna watch this movie again. You know, I feel like that's what old gaming's
right,
has,
exactly.
New game, you're like, like I play it, cool, like whatever. But you know, we may not, most likely will not go back to it. Yeah,
I don't.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah, because like I was at recently I beat a game called Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is a great game. It has a great story, great gameplay, a lot of fun. I put a lot of hours into it. I'll probably never go back to that game ever again. There's no reason to.
Yeah, you can only ride that horse so many times.
Right. Whereas like when I think about like games like Chrono Trigger, like I'll go back to that game. Like some of the platformers like Mega Man, like, you know, it's kind of building up that skill set, that platforming skill set. Metroid I'll go back to. You know.
So speaking of Assassin's Creed, when I was in Europe, I was going to all these places, a lot of places where the Assassin's Creed games were at.
Right.
So I was literally in like Italy, and I was like, the Duomo. I remember that from Assassin's Creed. So I was climbing it, and I looked at my fiance. Like she doesn't want to talk about gaming, but I'm just looking at her. I was like, I climbed this in Assassin's Creed. And then we went to Paris, right? And I'm
like, I climbed it before I climbed it.
Yeah, and I go to the Notre Dame before the fire or whatever. Yeah. And I was there, and I was pointing. I was like, hey, I climbed that Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yeah.
And then we went to Greece, in Athens, and we went to the Acropolis. It's actually in the game.
Yeah.
And I was looking around. I was like, wow, this would be really cool for Assassin's Creed. Right after I came back, the E3 happened. They were talking about, the next Assassin's Creed is going to be in Greece. I was like, what? And then so I was playing the game, and I was like, I climbed it in real life.
Yeah, I think the realism to video games is really becoming extraordinary and outstanding. Just like as you were saying, all those places that you went to in Europe, they were in games. And so, like, I mean, what was it? What was that one Grand Theft Auto where they pretty much had it like, what is it? Like their version of LA down to like the streets, like
it was,
Grand Theft Auto 5. Oh no, Grand Theft Auto 5 is like, that's a new one. Yeah. The San Andreas had some like Inglewood, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But like, but I heard like the streets.
Really,
I mean, in terms, I think they took some liberties, but then more or less it was like that was the street, like 6th Street or.
Okay, so get this. I work at Cedar Sinai, right? And anyways, my coworker, he plays Grand Theft Auto 5 a lot, and he was like, "Let me show you this video." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Look, I'm in a helicopter. I'm flying around this hospital. What hospital do you think this is?" I'm like, "This is our hospital." He's like, "Yeah, that's in the game." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" And then not even that, my friend's roommate, he was playing in online on the Xbox, and he was like going around because they lived right next to the Union Station at the time, and he was like, "Look, this is our building," and it literally looked like the building that they're living in,
right?
And in the game, so I was like, "Whoa, your building is in the game." So it was just like pretty extreme detail. Like the front of that building was exactly the way it was designed in real life. So they really took a lot of those things and put it into the game. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Getting to that point where it's like blurring the lines between like fiction and reality. Yeah, I had no idea we're gonna be talking about games so much in this episode.
Well, I guess that was his main point, because I think he bring it out that he wanted me to talk about what games matter to me and what games are important. Yeah. I mean, games is a big focus, because like the friend I told you about that my friend Joe, the RPG guy, I met him. He was the first Korean I met in America. Right, we live in Granada Hills. I didn't know anybody. I was a little kid. I came from Korea. Didn't speak English at all, and I was really sad. And I was like, "What's going on?" And then this guy comes in. He's like, "Hey, where's my sister?" And we're like, "Oh, you're Korean?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm Korean." And I'm like, "You're Korean?" And he's like, "What are you playing?" I was like, "I'm playing Contra." He's like, "Whoa, you got Contra?" My parents didn't let me get that game because it's mine, Yeah. And he kept that. He sat down, play with me for an hour, and then we became friends, right? So I feel like a lot of connections I have, not every, but a lot of connections I have with friends is based on gaming, right? Even with Matt, even with Robert, like how like we were friends, but what really made us really, really friends, and the time that we spent together was literally in games. Even like, I don't know if you want me to talk about that scary story, but remember that?
Yeah, go for it. No, yeah, let's do it.
So I'll tell you the scary story. So this is like true story. So one weekend I was just playing by myself at 3 a.m. Marvel's Capcom, everybody knows that, PS1.
Goddamn good game.
I was playing that. I was like trying to get good, because Robert would beat my butt sometimes and piss me off, so I needed to train. So I was playing that game, and I was like, whatever. It was like really late, so I was like, maybe I'm a little delirious, but I heard like a voice. It sounds like a little girl. Yeah, like hello, like that, right?
Oh, whoa.
So I was like, whoa, that's creepy. Like maybe I'm a little tired, maybe I'm a little crazy, maybe I need to sleep. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to sleep and pray to God and go to sleep, right? So I go to sleep, whatever. Next week, the weekend after, Robert comes over, same day, the same time, right? It's like 2 a.m, right?
Yeah.
So we're playing games, and hello,
shoot,
right? And I'm like acting like I didn't hear it, because I don't want to seem crazy. So I was like, oh, I don't hear anything, right? And just playing a game, and then Robert gives me this weird look, and he pauses the game. He's like, dude, do you hear that? I'm like, what do you mean, man? I don't want to seem crazy, right? He's like, it sounds like it's like someone saying hello, like a little girl. And I was like, yeah, it sounds like this, right? Hello, hello. He's like, yeah. And then we keep hearing it. So we're like, is it outside? Maybe it's a cat, right? So we're looking all over. But we're trying to find some logical explanation for this, right? Mm-hmm. And so I opened the window, and my house is known to be kind of haunted.
Oh, dude, it was.
This was in Granada Hills.
Chatsworth.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So like, so we opened the window, and we're like, is it from outside? It's like, no, it's not. So we're like, where's it coming from? Where's the sound coming from? It's not from the outside, right? It's coming from inside here. So we close the door now because the sound's more, centered in the room. And we're like, where's this coming from? Hello, right? And we're like, and then I can hear it that it's coming from the vent where the AC is coming. So I put my ear next to it and I can hear it really loud from there. I'm like, what the heck, right? Anyways, long story short, later on, I met one of my neighbors and he was telling me that he hears that in his place. And I'm like, what? You hear it in your place too? Like this little girl? Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, don't you know the story of the what happened and like 10, 15 years ago in this block? Mm-hmm. I'm like, no. He's like, this little girl got murdered here. And what happened was
holy shit.
So what happened was the dad found out his wife was cheating on him.
Oh, dang. And it wasn't the girl wasn't his daughter.
No, that is his daughter. So he killed his wife. Oh, then he realized that what am I gonna do? Should I kill myself? What should I do? Right? But he was like kind of psycho, right? And then he locked his daughter in the closet, and I guess she was shouting, "Help me, like hello," like that. And then like the vent is picking up that. So, that's the story about it. Yeah. So apparently that's why.
Oh geez.
Yeah, that's why you hear hello.
Where'd you live in Chatsworth again?
Like Mason, Cozy Croft.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We should have him on with our friend Lane's Lair because he has a bunch of ghost stories too about his house too. Because his uncle haunts that house that he like is a caretaker of now.
Oh man!
And
was his uncle not an asshole though?
No, not an asshole, but just kind of it's weird. Like there's a lot of weird stuff because when he's out of town, I go in and check on the house. And
I remember I had a weird kind of like kind of spooky experience. I was sleeping in my room, and I was kind of like awake but like asleep, and then I like open my eyes, and then I see like the shadowy figure with like glowing eyes standing over me, and then then that wakes me up. I go, oh my god! I like jolt back in my bed, and then all of a sudden my mom screams. And it was like my mom standing like over me.
Oh, that's kind of creepy. Your mom was over you?
Yeah, because this was like around high school time, and she used to work nights.
Oh, okay.
And then she'd get home like before the sun came up, and then my mom had this habit of coming into my room and checking on me.
Yeah, sleeping next to you.
Or no, not sleeping. Just come in like just checking on me, and then sometimes like she'll like pray over me or something. Oh. But it's like weird because like I was like sleeping, and then I was like, kind of awake, like my eyes were like they didn't like focus, and it was dark, and I just saw like this shadowy figure with glowing red eyes. I was like, oh shoot, and it like freaked me out. I'm a little terrified to investigate what that really means, but but seeing how it was, it was actually my mom, but it was pretty scary.
Yeah, dude. Like,
I only bring this up because at the time that happened to me while I was living in Chatsworth.
Yeah,
maybe Chatsworth is haunted. All the fires, right? Maybe. It's always burning.
Maybe.
Well, it is October, so we can talk about like little weird stories. So I remember
my neighbor set his house on fire.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I think it's something with Chatsworth. Maybe Chatsworth crazy.
There's something weird.
Too many horses or something.
Remember
like a horse town.
Maybe it's the gas. Maybe it's the gas.
No. This is way before like the whole like gas and like wildfire. It was weird because it only seems like recently that there's been a lot of wildfires, specifically like in like the North San Fernando Valley area. So when I was a kid growing up in Chatsworth, I didn't remember like too many. Not even.
I remember one big one. I remember one big one.
Yeah,
high school
probably.
It was ash was falling. I was running. I was running cross country at the time, so I remember I had to breathe in the ash.
That's right.
It was pretty bad.
But anyways,
I still remember like the lady that used to live next door to him.
Oh, that lady.
We would always find these like random cat parts, like just like ran. I was like, what the fuck is this like cat paw doing here?
What?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were hanging out like playing games at his house, and we heard a knock on the door.
Shout out to gaming.
And always gaming because it was like during summer, I think. So yeah, we didn't have school, so yeah, we were gaming.
We're nerds.
Yeah. Hey, we kept us out of trouble.
Yeah, that's true. We get
Nerds.
more pregnant. That's good.
that's true. And we opened the door. It's like, what the hell is going on? And it's like this guy's like, you guys got to see this. It's like, well, first of all, who the fuck are you? It's like this random guy that came over was like, just trust me, just I need you guys to come see this. Like, all right, fuck it. Like we went over. It was next door. This lady who lived next door to him, who was a complete insane person. Mm-hmm. She was just nuts. Mm-hmm. And he opened up. This guy opened. I guess was like, right? It was like, I don't know if he was like a repo man or something.
I think he was an inspector.
Was he inspector?
I think someone ratted her out. Okay, I went to go inspect.
And we always kind of suspected she was a weird person. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'd always find these random cat parts near this person's house.
She's definitely the person you see in a horror movie that's like, hello, like that little weird grandma that you're like, this looks kind of creepy. That's
like kind of half emaciated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and really pale, looks like a witch, had weird proportioned body.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, so he opens up the garage door, and we see cages full of fucking cat shit with like cats like, kind of like trapped.
Those
at the top.
50 cats there. It's gotta be like 50 cats.
Holy shit!
Yeah. So like the cat cage was like, so it was about like the this tall. Like there was a bunch of them stacked on top right there. Mm-hmm. The shit of like the cat shit that was left in those cages was about like here, and the cats were like trapped up at the top, like, oh shit. It's like, oh my god, what the fuck? Why are we here?
Yeah, we're like in ninth grade or something. They're like we're little kids, pretty much. This guy's like, let me show you this disturbing thing, children. Don't be like this lady.
I will never forget that day. Because it was just the most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my life.
Do you remember what she said?
No, I don't remember.
She said, "He's a bad man."
Oh yeah. That's right.
He's a bad man. Don't listen to him. He's a bad man. That's how she thought. Wow, the cat's like, but this is a good visual, right?
Holy shit!
Yeah.
And then we're all like, "Let's go get some Subway."
Wait, were they like still like were she? Okay. Presumably she was taking care of them, so she just like fed them, but they didn't clean out the cage.
No.
I think she kept them in the cage, just fed them, and they were just pooping all over.
Oh, so she wasn't cleaning out the cage.
But part of me is like, because we would see
I was
random.
wondering how, like, if they weren't being fed, how the hell.
And there was a lot of cats. It wasn't just a little. Like I'm talking about like 50 massive.
It was a
cats.
horde.
Yeah, it was like a kennel almost. But like, why would you have a kennel of cats? Like, what are you doing with them? And so she was a crazy.
But we would find the random cat parts. We think that she was like doing something with these cats.
Witchery, I think. Yeah. I think she was a witch kind of person.
Jeez.
Because I remember like, well, because I said there was a lot of negative energy in my place. Mm-hmm. It was haunted,
right?
And also, she didn't take care of her place well. And yeah,
so like the front yard was like overgrown.
So like,
so was ours though.
Yeah. So there was that house. There was his house, dead. Everything else, green.
Yeah.
Luscious green.
I think the neighbors were like, "Get those effers out."
Holy crap!
Yeah. Oh my god. That was one of the weirdest days. I was like, why are we here? Yeah, it's like,
hey, what is life?
It's like it was one of those weird things where like we kind of suspected that lady was really weird, but like it was like this was just the confirmation of that. It's like, oh my god.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Oh god, it was so weird. So yeah, these are like the random adventures that Peter and I would like just kind of encounter.
When Robert used to sleep over, he used to tell me there was a shadow.
Oh, okay, all right. So I'll tell this story then. So I think it wasn't just you. I think it was you and I think another friend of ours that were sleeping over. Maybe it was our friend Chris, who were sleeping over, right? And I woke up to go to the bathroom because his house was ungodly hot during the summer. Like, oh my god, it was so bad.
Okay.
So we would sleep out in the living room with the screen door, like, or the back window, the sliding door open with the screen door closed,
right? Just
to get some air, because that was the only way we could sleep,
right?
Because his room like was like 1,000 degrees. And so I woke up to go to the bathroom, and you're at that point where like you're kind of like half awake, and like you're kind of able to see in the dark because your eyes are dilated enough. And his dad was kind of like one of those guys like do, kind of like stomp, typical Korean
like most
dad.
Korean dads,
just stomping around. It's like, and
no, dude, my parents, like when they have a conversation, our neighbors think that they're fighting.
Hey, how was your day?
How are you, honey? I'm great. Yeah, my day was so good. Oh, that's so wonderful. It sounds like, imagine this in Korean, and it just sounds like they're yelling at each other, like they're angry at each other.
Dude, yeah, seriously, like Korean does sound like you're like super angry with everyone. It's like, oh yeah, they go. And it's, like,
it's so funny because like you can hear my parents like you're talking to like you're gonna wake up the kids. But it's like my eye like boom, my eyes like are like like they're bloodshot because like my parents are just like shouting at each other, like having conversation but just shouting at each other.
So I hear his dad his like as he's walking around, and like I see him like, and I see the shadow like and his dad is kind of like him, just this hulking kind of a big guy, and I see him like stomp over to the like kitchen sink, and I heard the water running. I was like, oh, Mr. Lim, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom, but I need to turn on the light because I can't see. I flipped on that light, no one was there. I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna just piss my pants because I ain't going to the bathroom. Fuck that.
Surprise! I wonder if he's my uncle.
Oh my god, it was one of the that was one of the weirdest things. Like, I fuck that. I'm not going to the bathroom. I'm just gonna pee outside.
I actually never seen this. You just want to tell me this story, and I was like, what happened? I was like, because I actually went back to the bed because he was sleeping in the living room, and I was like, okay, you can sleep there. I'm just gonna sleep in the bedroom. So I went back to the bed. I think I was like playing games on the computer. I was like, I'm gonna play some more. You can go to sleep. And then I went and played, and then I just went to sleep. And then the next morning, he was like, dude, something happened. I'm like, what? And he like told me about it. I was like, oh shit, that's not good.
Dang.
So yeah, your house is. Oh, and I remember another story. Kind of. You had a friend from Chatsworth who was a foreign exchange student from the Czech Republic.
Yeah, Jan.
Yeah, Jan. Dude, the place that the family that was hosting him was easily one of the fucking weirdest families I have ever seen in my life.
How so?
Yeah.
Explain. Are you talking about like Adam's Family kind of creepy or?
Yeah, it's on the verge of that, but like it's kind of like more of like this like they had this weird obsession with like Lewis Carroll.
Oh, and the troll dolls.
Yes,
they had a lot of troll dolls, and they had the light flashing in the face of the trolls, and they'd be like,
they'd be from underneath.
But it wasn't the cute troll dolls. It was like these weird like
crazy green hair.
Like if they were like if troll dolls were made in like the 30s or 40s, like these weird like circus troll dolls.
So it was on the one with the gems in their bellies.
No, it was like these like.
The one had the clown makeup.
Yeah, so it was almost like a Saw version of like troll dolls.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then they also had like all these like ancient like 19th century pictures. Like
that's a family.
On every inch of the walls.
Yeah, they had this huge 2-wall with old 19th century pictures, and I was like, "What is that?" You're like, "Oh, those are our dead relatives."
Whoa!
I was like
an ofrenda for like Mexican
why
people?
Do you have no? They're white, and I was like, "Why?"
I don't know, but they're like concept, like the ofrenda in like Mexican culture. It's like they place the pictures of their ancestors.
Yeah, I don't think it was
that was a lot.
Yeah, it was
the entire wall was
the whole 2 walls.
Like, don't get me wrong, like I like old pictures of, like my family, but I'm not gonna paste them all over the wall.
And they look freaky because those old pictures always like
they're very serious, very still. No expression.
They look like they're dead or something.
It looked like from like some like 1910s like circus, like haunted circus. Like that's what it felt like.
And that daughter keep playing the Disney Alice in Wonderland.
Well, she was obsessed with like the insanity of Lewis Carroll.
Oh yeah, she told us this actually.
Yeah, and it was like like the dad would like I was like wearing no shirt for some reason.
Like kids over.
Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Why am I here?
Kind of look like Resident Evil 5 mixed with some the Resident Evil, not 5, Resident Evil, the new one.
Yeah.
But that guy, the family's like, hey, come visit our dinner table, like kind of like that. And then
It's so weird, like particularly women and their obsession with Lewis Carroll.
That's true. They do like Lewis Carroll for some reason.
I mean, like,
for some reason, like women are like drawn, like particularly like the tale of Alice in Wonderland. More women are attracted to that story than.
why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's just very odd. Especially like particularly when you kind of get into like the nitty gritty of who Lewis Carroll was.
He's a fucking weirdo.
He's a fucking weirdo. Yeah.
I mean, part of me is like we get the the Disney version of Alice in Wonderland,
like
which
the
is
sterilized
version of it. But like you actually like dive into that story, it's really dark.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, and you kind of like even like in the in Batman, you get the Mad Hatter. That's the
That's right.
That's like more the real version of the Mad Hatter than we get in the Disney version.
Yeah, that's right. Very very dark, very what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Just very dark and kind of like foreboding. Almost.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Like I've noticed a lot of women are very obsessed with Lewis Carroll for some god awful reason.
I mean, either him or just like the Alice in Wonderland story.
I don't understand.
I don't know what. I don't understand like what the draw is. Maybe maybe I have to just like read the stories just to get firsthand information and just to kind of see what the attraction is.
Yeah, but I remember. Yeah, we would meet a lot of like really weird people in our time. We have a lot of weird adventures.
As a San Fernando Valley for you.
Yeah. But Peter and I we've done a lot together. Like we've gamed a lot together. I remember when Blockbuster was still around.
Oh my gosh! 30 what's it? How much was it?
It was like we had the like towards the end of Blockbuster. They did like the you could rent for like a certain fee. Like you could rent a bunch of movies. Like I think it was like 3 or 4 movies at once, and then like you would return them and you get another 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah,
I think we went through like a ton of the library.
So it was kind of like the precursor to like subscription.
Yeah,
like you just pay a monthly fee and then you can take like 3 movies and like however, and after you just have to bring back 3 movies and you can take out another 3 movies.
And because during the summer I was at his house like 90% of the time.
Yeah,
like
that was true.
Yeah, like I essentially lived at his house.
What was your favorite movie? Legends, right?
Oh fuck that movie! That was like one of. So this is one of like Tom Cruise's very early movies called Legend. It was this weird like fantasy film like.
And he bends really low and his crotch is exposed, kind of.
Yeah, it's.
Do you see dong?
Oh yeah.
Well, not dong, but
close enough.
Shape of a dong.
You see the outline.
Like shadow.
See the shadow?
Shadow of the dong.
Yeah, it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. So
was it worse than Mission Impossible 2?
Oh yeah, easily. Sure. Yeah. Like Mission Impossible 2 is like Casablanca compared to this movie.
Okay.
We'll have to do a like a shitty movie month for Nocturnal Transmissions because I have there's some shitty movies that we haven't done yet.
You need some. I know some on top of my head. I don't know. Like
we'll bring you in on some of the shitty movies, maybe, Peter.
Yeah.
But so we. Like a lot of things that we would do, we would game all the time. We would watch a lot. We watched a lot of movies. I think that was all like within like a summer and a half. Like that we essentially watched
a lot of anime,
a lot of movies.
Airmaster, remember Airmaster?
Yeah,
we watched that.
Airmaster?
It's a girl that like fights and flips in the air, but she's really tall, but she got big
big boobs,
big Asian boobs,
huge ass, the anime boobs,
But we would like, and I think like because obviously we went through like the hits pretty quickly when it came to like the movie rentals, and it's like, well, fuck, what are we gonna do now? It's like, so we were really digging deep in the barrel. Like we found like movies like Legend, it's like, oh fuck it, let's watch this. oh god, this is shitty. You know, like I think some of them were. I don't even
Some
remember.
of them were pretty good though.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, that's not bad.
I was like, wow, I didn't expect this movie to actually be interesting, and it was. And
Like that backward pile of Netflix, you're like, that's not so bad.
yeah, like and even like today, like we're because we've been doing what Andy calls cinematic archaeology, and because there's a lot of movies that are referenced a lot in pop culture, like through shows that we watch or cartoons or what just stuff that we like, like lines from movies that we know, and going back and it's like, oh, that's where that line is from, or that's where that reference is from. And so that's actually like why we started doing the movie reviews, was kind of because of that reason. And yeah, there's a surprising number of films that are referenced in a lot of different things where it's like, oh, that's where that's from. I would have never guessed
surprisingly also, they're not necessarily from Academy Award winning movies either. Like Soylent Green was like by no means
No, it was not a critically acclaimed hit at all.
Exactly.
Which one?
Soylent Green with Charlton Heston. It was a film for what, like 70.
So what came from there that made it?
Like the whole idea of like, because they're essentially eating people.
Uh-huh.
They're recycling dead people and creating what's called Soylent Green, and they're saying that it's plankton from the ocean, like this, like, but it's actually people that they're eating. But like the whole like the last scene of it, like it's people, like they're eating people, like like that's actually a pretty like famous like line in a bunch of different other things, because even then I think that came from the whole idea from Twilight Zone. Like the Soylent Green line came from the Twilight Zone of like the Human Cookbook one.
Oh yeah, that's
and
right.
so that was in Soylent Green, and then like but that's all, both of those are referenced in like a ton of other like shows and films and like just random stuff.
Yeah, like Futurama, they had that episode where Bender goes into that cooking show, and he in the secret ingredient, like kind of like Iron Chef. And the secret ingredient for that show was Soylent Green.
Yeah,
that's a reference. Okay.
Yeah, so there's always like it's like even like these random films was like, fuck, I would have not guessed that this was like when you're watching the show, it's like, what the hell is you don't even think about it, and then like you go and watch the film, you stumble across the film, and it's like, oh shit, that's actually a reference. Like I would have never guessed that. And even like some of like the stuff that we've watched like in the past, like, oh yeah, I remember that, like that's so. And even like games occasionally like come across like those references too. And I don't know, I just it's I think our relationships are very unique because it does revolve around like, yeah, we might not always necessarily be doing the same thing, but we like the same things. And even if we have a different opinion on something, we're doing the same thing together. And I think that's how people like not gaming and like sitting around like watching movies and stuff. But like I actually think that it's a way to bring people together in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think it's a commonality.
Yeah, well, I think especially nowadays too, because there is so much more of a connection in gaming. Like we're able, even if we're not playing the same game, like I could, connect to the internet and I can put on my headphones and you and I can like have a conversation even though we're not in the same room.
Yeah,
and even or in the case of games like Destiny or other multiplayer games, like we're playing together. I mean, I do miss kind of the couch co-op kind of situation, like Contra. Like that's one of the great couch co-op games that you can just like sit with your friend and you're coordinating together and you're working out kind of that teamwork.
Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Oh, dude, that's like one of the great ones.
Back.
It's coming back.
Remastered.
Yeah.
PS4.
But even like with movies too, because Andy and I will watch movies together that we're gonna review, and I'm like you, I'm also a person that talks a lot of shit during movies. If it's like I make fun of it, even though I like it. And we'll find like there's a lot of times like him and I are like thinking like the same thing, and or Yeah, like you and I, like we would have a lot of the same thoughts, or
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's like, or like you would have, like I wouldn't have the balls to say it, but then you do. It's like, yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that because Peter is one of those guys that I love because he has no filter whatsoever. He just says what's on his mind.
Well, I was watching this, the new Joker movie, right?
Oh,
so
yeah,
I was
yeah.
watching it, and I was definitely the guy that was laughing in the most inappropriate times, right?
Mhm.
And
Oh my god, he's gonna kill us all.
I was like, ha 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 ha, bah, 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 you shoot people, and then everyone's like, oh my god, this is violent, like it's quiet, right? And I'm like, ha ha, that's hilarious. I just died. That's
Oh my god, you are the Joker.
Basically, I was like, am I the Joker? Am I crazy?
Yeah, because I just I just watched it this weekend.
Yeah.
It was really good.
What do you think of it?
It was really good. I like
Alright.
it.
Definitely could take it in the mental health.
Although,
Yeah.
but I think they borrowed or took too much from Taxi Driver.
That's what I heard. It was very, like, if you've seen Taxi Driver, like this is has a lot of similarities.
Yeah, similar beats, similar
Oh, that the society pushes you to the edge, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, Taxi Driver's a weird, because I watched that movie for the first time a few weeks ago, and I was like, because I knew all the references to it's like one of those films where it's like I haven't watched it, but I know the film,
Right.
and then actually going in and watching it is like, yeah, it's a very weird film. And so yeah, I'm curious to watch the Joker. I haven't seen it yet. And obviously a lot of people are talking about it, so like even though like people are talking about it, I'm gonna go watch it anyways, just to go kind of like make my own conclusions on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should definitely watch it.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think there's people that don't like it for a lot of reasons. And I can see why.
But I can understand, like, if you didn't like a movie like Taxi Driver, like, yeah, obviously this movie is definitely not going to be up your alley.
It's funny because after watching, I mean, you can tell me, Peter, but I didn't think it was extraordinarily violent.
I don't think. I think it's subtle that the movie mostly is not violent. That's
Right.
why.
I mean, I think-
I've heard it's more distincting than just like it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Yes,
uncomfortable,
it's more. Yeah, it's better to say it's uncomfortable. But like it's you kind of expecting a bloodbath, but really there's like maybe like two or three.
Yeah, 3 scenes.
Like scenes that are stand out, bloody, and that's about it. You're expecting like the entire movie to be this huge like shower, red shower, but it's really not.
I think the first scene with the violence in it, I'm not gonna say what because to not give spoilers, but I was like more like yeah, get him, like he
Yeah.
deserved that.
You like.
And I was like excited.
I mean, yeah,
kill
you're
those
like.
motherfuckers,
Yeah, I mean, yes, you
That's
know,
how you
but
feel,
it's
right?
like everyone's like, we're like, oh, you're gonna identify with like the protagonist or whatever. It's like, well, yeah, because we're because I know what scene you're talking about. And it's and of course, because you're automatically set up to empathize with the Joker.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to hate those, the other people.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that's just desserts. So he's like, yeah, of course I'm glad, I'm glad they die. It's like, because they're assholes. But it's like, but it doesn't make a case for you. It's like, a case for, like what we've been hearing about in the media is like, oh, this is going to inspire someone to go, go shoot up a place or whatever. It's just like, no, well, you empathize with the Joker character because he's the main, he's the protagonist, he's the main character, and the scene is specifically set up for you to empathize with him. Not necessarily that, not necessarily because you agree with his ideology or his perspective on life. It's just like the circumstances that get him to that place, you understand and you can relate to.
Yeah, I think also when it comes to the gun part of the violence, it isn't as, I don't know, it doesn't appear as violent for me. Whereas when he killed with other means, and that felt like way more violent, right? Just because the way it was a lot more visceral. And I do believe that, like, gun, and then that's the bad thing about guns, right? Guns are more dangerous technically, but it's definitely more like not as impactful when you watch
cleaner in a sense.
Yeah, just more like pew pew, you're gone, Whereas like other ways to kill is like very like you have to get
it's very
personal
intimate
space.
Because if you're using a knife, you have to be like,
or like
yeah.
and your eyes are choked, you know. And, well, like, yeah, there's a lot of scenes like different ways of murder, and definitely, I think guns are definitely played off as watch it is not as dramatic for some reason, even though it is, because if that's what's happening in our real life, that's gonna be I'd be a lot more scared with someone with a gun than with something else, right? Technically,
Right.
But that's just interesting about that fact, just watching that, like But yeah, I did laugh really loud and very. That was bad, and everyone's looking at me like, "Are you crazy?" Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My fiance, I was watching with my fiance. She's holding my hand, and then I'm just like, she's like like this, like concerned about the movie.
I get your face.
It's like I could see her pulling away. It's like, I don't know this guy.
No, she just looked concerned. She was just like. And I was like,
I can just picture her face too, like.
Yeah. She's more concerned and a little bit like, shut up, dude. But I love you, kind of thing, She knows the crazy.
Shout out to the fiance.
Yeah, Narie Kudo. Her birthday two days ago.
Yeah.
Oh, October birthday.
She turned 30.
She's also an October birthday.
Just turned 30. My old lady now.
Oh, you babies.
But yeah, that's I mean, that's pretty much all I had for us to talk about today. Like, one thing I had to say, like, the things that people not gaming and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, it's a bunch of loners in a basement, just playing alone, and like they're in their mom's basement, whatever. But gaming actually is a way to really, I found a lot of times, like, brings people together. You're playing games together. You're working out like teamwork and stuff, especially on like co-op games. I mean, yeah, you can fuck around and all that, but it does develop good talent, and in a lot of ways, like the games that we like, it's kind of like we're playing a book. And that's what we grew up with. And I'm very happy to have Peter on. He's been a huge influence on my life for a lot. Some bad, but like a lot of good in my life. And I'm so thankful for him to come on and share some stories and share relive some of our adventures together. And even though we're getting older, things are changing in our lives, but we're still friends, and I'm glad you're on.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, dude. Really nice to reconnect.
Yeah, it is kind of a reunion.
Nice to see Andy too.
Yeah. We just push Andy aside. I'm the host, so
whatever. But I am the podcast.
Yeah, the podcast won't exist.
So he's the host, but I am the podcast.
Where can people reach you if they want to get in touch with you, Peter?
My Instagram, I guess.
Yeah.
Was it Yojimbox or? What
you don't even know.
I don't know.
Isn't it Yojimbo X?
It's let me see here.
He's like
Yojimbo X.
Yeah.
Yojimbo X.
Yeah. Okay. On Instagram, is that like where people can?
Or you can hit me on PlayStation Network. I think it's just Yojimbo, right? PlayStation. Yeah. So, or Yojimbo X for Xbox One.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, those are where.
Yeah, so if you want to game with Peter or interact with his photos and be weird, you can do that. So if you also this is our first episode back from the summer. We have old episodes of some of our other shows, Nocturnal Transmissions, every Tuesday, 8-ish. We're doing movie reviews, talking about like whatever the fuck floats our boat that week. We have a bunch of the old episodes of the Circle of Jerks podcast, and if you're into gaming, there's Up by Up Down with yours truly, and you can hit us up on our social medias. We have Twitter @podcastcoj, and what's our Instagram?
Circle of Jerks podcast.
Yeah, Circle of Jerks podcast. Thank you. I don't remember our Instagram either.
It's so simple. Circle of Jerks podcast, just like the time. Circle of Jerks podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Circle of Jerks podcast. That's our Instagram. And until next time, you have a great time.
Deuces. All right. Oh, we're done.